How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Spider, and in this video we're going to be breaking down the team I've drafted for the ASL Wi-Fi season. I think the All-Star League, simple as that. Season number 2. So obviously I wasn't in season 1, but I saw this league, I think, advertised in the WPF channel or server, and I figured, I'll give it a shot. There are still a few Pokemon, that I haven't used that I want to try out. So we're gonna be in 3 leagues at once, which is, I'll have my hands full. But obviously, with the UPA and WPF being at this point 4 weeks in, I'm actually on the 5th week now. This league is obviously gonna, go past those two, so I'll have something in between those 2 leagues, and then something else I'm hoping I get into in about 2 months from now. So yep, got the ASL here. A few names I kind of recognize. I recognize Quinn. I recognize Fist. I think I recognize who? Maybe not. I'm not sure. Oh, by the way, shout out to Hutch. I'm pretty sure it was Hutch who made this little Google Sheets thing. Basically made me not have to make a whole layout. It was either make a layout or just do it lazily on Showdown and just show my team, which I'm pretty sure I did for the UPA. Because the WPF whole layout thing I did for the draft analysis took me a lot of time. So with this, it's still going to look good, but I don't have to put any effort in. So big shout out to, I believe it was Hutch who made this. Or if not, feel free to let me know in the comments who actually made it. But anyway, I was obviously 4th out of 12 people. Interesting rules for this one. You get 110 points to draft, and you have to draft 11 Pokemon. So it's kind of forcing people to, not be top heavy, which is fine. I just think that for me, I'd rather have the ability to draft less. And if it is going to force you to draft 11, it needs to be like at least 115 points, in my opinion. Because that's an average of Pokemon that are 10 points, and you're not going to use the ones that are low tier that much anyway, so I don't really think it makes much of a difference. But yeah, we were 4th overall. Obviously I get a lot of options being at 4th, but I wanted to kind of have fun with this one and see what we could get, that obviously stuff that we haven't ever used. So round 1 I ended up getting Iron Boulder, which was only 16 points. I figured I wouldn't want something super expensive because I don't want to have 3 Pokemon at the end be like 3 points or lower. So I ended up going Iron Boulder. This does seem like a pretty interesting Pokemon. Rock Psychic, physical attacker, base 124 speed is really great. I believe it's the fastest Pokemon on my team, I think, maybe. And you can actually see the recent picks, which is pretty cool. So number 1 was Shenpao, 2 was Zamazenta, and 3 was Urshifu. So obviously I had a lot of options. I could have gotten a bunch of different things, but again, 16 points is kind of where I wanted to, have my ceiling as far as this draft in particular. And Iron Boulder looks really fun to use. So it does get Taunt if I need to do that. It does get, here, let me pull up Showdown just so I don't miss anything. Swords Dance is great. Its signature move is Mighty Cleave, which is like it's a 95 base power rock type physical move, and it bypasses Protect without breaking it. And it's 100% accurate, which is great. Usually rock type moves are not 100% accurate, so Iron Boulder having that consistent, powerful physical rock type move is going to be really helpful for the team. And then obviously getting access to Psycho Cut and Zen Headbutt, depending on what I want to do there, is great. Wild Charge for bulky water types. I do even get Iron Defense if I want to run that. I get Agility, I get Poison Jab, Earthquake obviously, Close Combat for Steel types that resist my dual stabs. So there's a lot of things there that I can do, which is really fun. And yeah, base 120 attack, 124 speed, and then 108 special defense, which is like sneakily good for Iron Boulder. So what happened to my, I think it was just in between songs or tracks. Is that what's going on? Yeah, okay, anyway, sorry. Yeah, that's Iron Boulder for you. Let's try to speed this up a little bit. We got Annihilate next. Now obviously, only being 12 people in the draft means you're going to get a lot of Pokemon. A lot of Pokemon are going to be available to you. So Annihilate being, towards the tail end of round 2 didn't really surprise me. You can see the Pokemon that were drafted recently. You got Golden Goat, Dragapult, Landorus, that sort of thing. So this didn't really surprise me, but at the same time, I was really excited to get it because, first of all, it kind of deals with steel types well for Iron Boulder, and it's another, it's a spin blocker, which is great. And I've never actually been able to use Annihilate in draft, which is surprising because I've been in so many draft leagues in Gen 9, but I feel like I've always been on the receiving end of an Annihilate whooping, and I'd like to use it myself because Annihilate is incredibly broken if you let it get set up. Not even if you just hit it too many times and it doesn't take enough damage. Those Rage Fists are going to be crazy. Obviously, the 2 resistances to Ghost is going to be Dark and Normal, and this thing can hit Dark and Normal types with fighting type attacks. So very difficult to switch into, very difficult to deal with. It does get Stealth Rocks as well. It gets support moves like Taunt, Encore, obviously Bulk Up. It can U-turn, so it's a great choice Scarfer at base 90 speed. And it can do a few different things, but usually you're going to see like a more bulky set to try to take advantage of Rage Fist. I think that makes a lot of sense. So that's Annihilate for you. We have our spin blocker early, which is great. Next up, I got Superior, and so the Terra rules. I guess I should bring that up since we have a Terra Captain here. Obviously, you get 20 points total for 2 to 3 Terra Captains, and those Terra Captains can be, they get 3 types, and one of them has to be a stab. So pretty standard stuff. My first Terra, and you can't have a Terra Captain 14 points or above. So anything 13 points and under will be able to be a Terra Captain. So Superior is Terra Grass, Fire, and Stellar. I initially had Fairy, and then in the grace period, someone pointed out that Stellar is great for this thing because it has Contrary. If you don't know, if your Terra is Stellar, the Terra Blast is a little stronger, but it lowers your attack and defense, or attack and special attack. If you're Contrary, which Superior is, you get a +1 attack and special attack every time you use Terra Blast, which is great. That's obviously fun. Obviously, it gets Leaf Storm as well, but Terra Blast will always hit, and Leaf Storm will not always hit. So, and I believe Terra Blast, when you're Stellar, is always a neutral attack, unless your opponent is Terastallized, and then it's super effective. So, just another layer, and shout out to that person who kindly reminded me about that. And it's obviously a very quick Pokemon. Base 113 is great. None of its other stats are particularly great. It's got decent defenses, but just again being able to Leaf Storm and get the +2 with that strong ass move. I mean, I know Grass has a lot of resistances, but in certain scenarios, this thing can be really powerful. Obviously, Fire, hits Steel types hard, which is important. Hits other Grass types hard. Hits Bug types hard. So that's three of the resistances immediately snuffed out if we are Terra Fire. And I think that this Pokemon could be, really good. I mean, it's that simple. We do get dual screens if we want to do that. We get access to Glare, Knockoff, Coil if we want to go non-contrary, or Swords Dance if we want to, surprise people. It's Taunt as well. So Leech. So like I could see like a tub. I could see a sub Leechy Taunt kind of thing going on to kind of stall break certain things. I think that would be pretty cool. And then, you all obviously have to prep for the sweeping Leaf Storm set. So, super excited to have this Pokemon back in the lineup because it was not in Gen 9 for the longest time. So, next up is Mandibuzz. I consider Umbreon, but I wanted something, first of all, that could defog or get rid of hazards, so that's Mandibuzz. And second of all, I feel like Mandibuzz, it can knock off, which is really nice. Umbreon can't knock off. It can heal itself with only using one move with Roost rather than always having to run Wish and Protect, which is fine. I mean, I like Umbreon for what it does. It does get Alluring Voice now, which I think is underrated and very good for Umbreon. But I just like Mandibuzz more. I think it's more reliable as far as actually being able to deal some damage back. Also a very interesting speed tier at 80. So base 80 speed, I'll be able to outspeed a few things that are uninvested, and I could even speed creep some things. So, good defenses, base 110 HP, 105 defense, 95 SPDF. With, Roost, U-turn, gets Toxic, gets Taunt, Knock Off, Foul Play, Defog, Brave Bird, Heat Wave, that sort of thing. It's not the most diverse Pokemon, but, hopefully I'll be able to use it to a great effect. That is the hope. It's just going to be kind of a bulky pivot and whatnot. So next up is Salazzle. I actually really wanted to use Salazzle. There are a few poison types I wanted to use. Glamora was only 11 points, which was kind of crazy, but I didn't really realize that until I had already drafted Iron Boulder, and I didn't really want 2 rock types because they're so weak defensively. And I also really wanted Petrarch, but then I figured, okay, but Annihilate's still there, so let me get Annihilate for my Ghost type. Because I wasn't too, I enjoy Petrarch as a Pokemon, but I wasn't too sold on how good it would be in draft. So I still needed a Poison type, Grounded Poison, and Salazzle was another Pokemon I've wanted to try for a while. Not a Terra Captain, because we just didn't have the points at this point, and obviously Serperior is a better Terra Captain. But you know, base 117 speed, great speed stat. Base 111 special attack, which is also pretty good, and then the rest of its stats are pretty shit, but that's okay, because Corrosion will allow me to poison any Pokemon, including Steel and Poison types, which is great. I could stall out certain things, you know, like let's say well, Glowking is going to hit me really hard. A Moongus I could hit anyway. I guess Heatran, because Heatran gets Flash Fire, and it's otherwise it would just be able to completely wall me. But I can just still Toxic it with Corrosion, which is awesome. So Toxic, I can also stall that out with, you know, Sub and Protect if I want to do that. It also gets Thunder Wave and Will-O-Wisp, so this thing's kind of the status god. Does get Toxic Spikes as well. I wonder if Toxic Spikes works. Like if you Toxic Spike and then a Heatran comes in and it's not Boots, I wonder if it gets poisoned. We might have to find that out. Another Pokemon that gets Knockoff, which is kind of crazy. Dragon Tail for phasing, but you know, mainly it's going to be either a stalling kind of Toxic Sub Protect set or a Nasty Plot Fire Blast Sludge Wave kind of set. Also gets Taunt. So we have a lot of Taunters so far, 4 to be exact, in our first 5. Actually, no, Annihilate gets it too. So we have 5 Taunters, which is kind of nuts. But yeah, that's the Salazzle. Hoping to use this thing to great effect. Hoping I have just, and again, this league is just to have fun. Hoping to learn a lot about certain mons here. So next up is Sandy Shocks, which is another Pokemon I've wanted to use for a while. It is a Paradox Pokemon, so I can use Booster Energy with it. Usually going to be Booster Speed with the 101 Speed stat, so I'll be able to outspeed if I have the Booster Energy enabled, or you know. Anyway, if I'm at +1 speed with the Booster Energy, I'll be able to outspeed any Choice Scarfers at base 100 and lower, which is awesome because there's a lot of those that I'll probably run into. And you know, it does get Spikes and Stealth Rock, so this is kind of my hazard stacker for the team, which is great. I get Thunder Wave, I get, you know, Discharge, Earth Power, Volt Switch, and then a hidden tech that I didn't really, you know, think about, but it's pretty good, is Iron Defense Body Press. So if I'm faster, I can Iron Defense against physical mons, and then I can hit them really hard with Body Press. So something like a Ting Lu, if it's when it switches into me, you know, otherwise that would be a great switch in. But if I Iron Defense on the switch in, and I start hitting it with Body Presses, and it's not doing it, I mean, it's hitting me with Earthquake, but it's not going to OHKO me since I'm at +2. I can get a lot of chip on that thing. So I see Sandy Shocks as kind of a role player for the team. I don't think it's going to be setting up, and well, there's not really much to set up with, but besides Iron Defense. But I think this thing's going to be a solid kind of role player to the team and supporting other things. So always got to have, you know, a few of those on the team, right? Next up is a great role player as well, being Goodra. I think Hisuian Goodra is great. So I initially wanted Arcaludon, but that got taken really early. In fact, let's see if we can see when it was taken. Oh, there it is. Pick 44. Hutch took it. Okay. So I was probably going to draft it around that time, but then I realized, okay, it's taken. Let me try to find another Steel Dragon type. And I considered Duraludon, but I think Goodra just so much better. It doesn't have to run Eviolite. It can run, you know, obviously Leftovers or Shuckle Berry or Assault Vest, whatever it needs to do. Get Sap Sepper, Shell Armor, and Gooey, which are 3 great abilities. Usually going to be running Gooey, I think. I think that's really an underrated ability. And its stats are just great. You know, it's got base 60 speed, so it's really slow. And its HP is mediocre at 80. Everything else is 100 or higher. So really looking forward to using this thing. I do get, I don't get Iron, well, I get Acid Armor, which is basically Iron Defense. So I get Acid Armor plus Body Press, or I could run Curse plus Body Press plus, you know, Heavy Slam, stuff like that. I also get Knockoff, another Knockoff user, which is like, what, you know, 4 on my team already. Yeah, something like that, 4 or 5. And it doesn't get any status moves really, but that's fine because I can hit really anything hard with the coverage that this thing gets. I just have to pick what coverage to use. I definitely see myself kind of struggling with 4 move slot syndrome, as they call it. But yeah, very few weaknesses, only weak to ground and fighting, and very bulky. So I'll probably be bringing this Pokemon a lot. That's what I'll say. Next up is Araquanid, which is my other Terra Captain. So I'm only going to have 2, but I think they're very useful Terra Captains because these Pokemon, these 2, Superior and Araquanid, I'll probably be bringing more often than not. So as far as the Terra options, I chose Water, Electric, and Poison. Water, obviously, to boost the Water Bubble liquidations. Electric, just to hit other bulky waters if it comes down to that, and Poison, just so I could Terra Poison Jab certain Pokemon, certain Fairy types, I suppose. I could have gone Terra Fairy myself to be a good typing, but I don't really need that. I think this Pokemon is very underrated as far as the Water Bubble boosted liquidations and Hydro Pumps and all of that. Doesn't get Scald anymore, unfortunately, but that's okay. We do get Sticky Web, which is awesome, so I can Sticky Web that. I think this thing, it's gonna put a lot of work in for my team. I think it's gonna come to more games than people would expect, and I think with the Sticky Web support and just being able to kind of hit things really hard with Liquidation, as well as trapping things with Infestation. Infestation plus Protect would be annoying. I do get Iron Defense to boost my defense, my physical defense, and it's got a bad HP stat at 68, and it's very slow at base 42, and its offensive stats are not good. But again, Water Bubble boosted Water type moves are going to be doing a lot of damage, and especially if I Terra Water, base 132 special defense is massive, and I can hit things pretty hard otherwise with Mirror Coat. So if you're like a Pokemon that doesn't take a lot from this thing's moves directly, and you try to hit it with like a Volt Switch or something, or whatever special type attack, I could just run Assault Vest, and then Mirror Coat does a crap ton back. So that's the hope. Hopefully Araquanid goes crazy, because I'm really excited to use it. So Cryogonal is next. I need a Rapid Spinner, let's be honest, and 5 points for what Cryogonal does is pretty good. Now obviously it's very frail on the physical side. It's base 50 attack and defense, and only base 80 HP, but it's got a massive special attack stat. It's very comparable to Araquanid in the fact that it's variable. It either does really well or really poorly, I feel. But Araquanid's a little bit more solid because of its typing and stats are a little bit better still. But look, this thing's base 105 speed, so that's great. That's what it's got going for it. It can recover on its own. It can Rapid Spin, obviously. I can Freeze Dry to hit opposing water types that want to switch in. I can even like Hail plus Aurora Veil would be pretty interesting, and I do get a Levitate, so this thing can switch into Earthquakes and whatnot. So it does have its niche for sure. Not sure how often it's going to come. If I really need a Rapid Spinner, that'll be this thing's kind of use, and yeah. So definitely I'm a big fan of Cryogonal. I love its design. I've always been a Gen 5 sympathizer because that was the first generation I played Pokemon, and I remember in the beginning, like when it came out, a lot of people were crapping on the designs. I always liked Cryogonal, so again, that's probably my positive predisposition to ice types in general, but yeah, anyway. Next up, a little rant there. Next up is Wigglytuff. I needed a Fairy type and a Normal type and a Wish Passer, so checking the boxes there. 3 points for what this thing can do is good. Again, won't be bringing it every week. And I do already have it in WPF. I'm trying to talk fast, and that's why I'm stumbling over my words. I do have it in WPF. It hasn't done much yet, but I think this thing has great utility. Obviously, as a fat Wish Passer, base 140 HP is crazy. The rest of its stats are pretty awful, but what do you expect from a 3-point Pokemon? Having an immunity to Dragon and Ghost at the same time is great. I mean, imagine a 3-point Pokemon completely walling something like a Dragapult. I mean, that would be huge. Obviously, it gets Steel Wing, but you have to dedicate a whole move to a 3-point Pokemon. Otherwise, it's going to wall you. So I see that in and of itself to have great value. that's just one example. I might not even face a Dragapult this season, but in case I do, it would be nice. So I get knockoff, another knockoff user. Thunderwave for speed control is pretty cool. Another Stealth Rocker, which I was kind of lacking at this point. I got Annihilate, who's not going to run Stealth Rocks very often, and Sandy Shocks. And I think that's it, because Iron Boulder doesn't get it for some reason. So another Stealth Rock user is great, and I can kind of stop people from, obviously this Pokemon's passive, but if I get Encore, so I can trap them into something, I can pair a song, I can Alluring Voice, and kind of stop things that way. I think Alluring Voice I'm always going to run over Dazzling Gleam, because there's no reason not to run Alluring Voice. Does it even get? No. Hold up. I thought it got Dazzling Gleam. Okay, maybe I'm looking at something that doesn't. I don't know. Anyway, Alluring Voice to kind of confuse Pokemon that try to set up on me would be great. And again, not going to come to every game, but having Frisk also. I don't know if I mentioned it. Having Frisk as an ability is incredibly powerful. And you know what? Maybe I just run. Maybe I just run Choice Scarf with competitive if my opponent has 3 Intimidate users, and then I just go crazy. You never know. Next up, or last but not least, I had 2 points left. I drafted Swalot. I figured it. If the day comes where I will need a bulky poison type, Swalot is there for me. So it's also it's another poison type, but who really cares? I'm not going to bring Salazzle and Swalot unless I really need poison types. And for what it does, it gets Toxic Spikes. I believe it gets Knockoff. It can Gunk Shot things to do a lot of damage. I get Sticky Hold and Gluttony, which are 2 pretty cool abilities. I think I can Encore things. I can knock off. I can heal myself back with Pain Split. I can Sword Stance. So and it gets a lot of coverage. It gets Earthquake. It gets Seed Bomb. It gets Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, Fire Punch. So hitting things really hard with Gunk Shot. Its stats are pretty dog shit. It's got, base 100 HP and that's about it. So, who knows? Acid Armor, Body Press. Acid Armor, Body Press Swallow. You're going to see that at some point this season. Okay, I take that back. I can't guarantee that, but anyway, that's going to be the draft. Super excited. I think the battles go up this Friday, and I'm recording this Wednesday, so I think I'm just going to upload this tonight. Obviously, I wanted to get it out probably last week, but it just hasn't worked out. But we're here now. We're uploading the video, and get ready because WPF goes up this Friday. UPI actually doesn't go up today. It goes up next week, which I just realized like 15 minutes ago as I was uploading it. And then week 1 of this will go up this Friday as well. So be prepared. We got a lot of content coming. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.